Hello and welcome to this episode of Hospitality Talks. I'm Katy Moses, founder and MD of KAM Media. And joining me today, I'm thrilled to say, is Jez Manterfield, who is the Senior Category Manager at Asahi. Jez, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to just give the people out there a little bit of a rundown of you and Asahi?
Yeah, sure. So I lead the team of category managers at Asahi at the moment, covering the on-trade and the off-trade channels for all of our brands within our portfolio. So Peroni, Asahi, the Fuller's brands, Meantime, etc. I've been enrolled for nearly 3 years. Prior to that, I was the other side of the fence and was spirits category manager at Mitchells and Butlers in the on-trade. Spent a number of years working there, and then prior to that, I was working in the trade, running venues as well in London. So I kind of come through from, the consumer side through to the customer side, and I'm now on the supplier side. So I've kind of done all three really. So yeah, broad range of experience over the last 20 years, and enjoy it very much, the industry.
Brilliant. Well, safe to say that you've seen it all then. Jez, the main reason that we're speaking today is because we have recently launched our Low and No Research Report for 2021. And that is a category that you guys are really making some great strides in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd really like to get your opinion on the idea that alcohol-free or low and no has really hit the mainstream. What do you think's driving that growth, that demand?
It's the overarching macro trends of moderation and health and wellness, really, kind of two big ones. And then also premiumization is not going away. So you're seeing many more brands enter the space with no and no variants or kind of sister brands to their alcoholic parent brands that are super credible, taste equally as good as their parent brands as well. So there's so much more choice.
Okay, and I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet actually, because I've got a belief that low and no is a category in its own right, not a substitute for alcohol.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I would agree. I guess it is, and it plays both roles. I guess you'll get people who are teetotal, who don't drink beer at all, not necessarily wanting to have a non-alcoholic beer, but just wanting to have a more mature non-alcoholic beverage that has something more challenging in its flavor profile beyond sodas, juices, and things like that. Non-alcoholic beer is not the only thing that can deliver that. You've got kombuchas and all sorts of other things out there that are beginning to help that space and really offer operators a premium trade up out of default purchases such as tap water, lime and soda, etc. But also, yeah, it does offer a consumer who is an alcoholic beer drinker, a way of enjoying that flavor profile but moderating their alcohol intake throughout the week. If in non-COVID times, the occasions were a lot higher to do that, and you might want to kind of keep an eye on your units, but still engage in on-trade occasions with people.
And so bringing COVID into that, how has COVID affected that category in the on and the off trade and sort of in and out of home? I know bars and restaurants are closed at the moment, but in general over the last 9 months.
Well, it's a tale of two stories really, huge opposites. In the on-trade pre-COVID, NABLAB was growing at a faster rate than the off-trade, and it's completely flipped now that COVID has happened. Across both channels, the beer category was bubbling around 0% growth, a little bit above, a little bit below, depending on which channel it was. And NABLAB was growing at about 40% in the on-trade, and then when lockdown 1 happened, obviously there was nothing going through the on-trade, but in that period of kind of 4 months that we had in the summertime where the trade was open in a kind of structured way, we saw NABLAB performing a further 15% worse than the alcoholic beer category. So that was down 55% versus beer at 40. So it kind of flipped it right on its head. And that, that again, I think that's shown in your research that some of the top 4 occasions for consuming NABLAB were, watching live sport, meeting up with friends, a dining occasion, all those things that are synonymous with why we go out to the trade and why we love it, and they just weren't there. And after work drinks as well is a big one.
Yes.
That Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, catching up with colleagues, networking with superiors, etc. Those occasions those occasions just aren't there. So, and then in the off trade, it's been steadily growing. Actually, it's been in consistent 30% year-on-year growth for the last kind of couple of years, and So that hasn't moved. What has happened is that the alcoholic beer category has caught up with it because the consumers haven't had a chance to consume in the on-trade. So they're kind of people aren't drinking any more than they were, in my opinion. It's just what they were drinking in the on-trade has now gone into their shopping basket.
Okay, and who is that consumer? Who, I mean, because I think there's a misconception that it's only people that are teetotal or pregnant or driving, but I think it's wider than that now.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't say that at all. The over indexes are in the kind of sub 34s really as well. So it's not all families or people who have families and who are driving, etc. Yes, that's one functional use of it. If you're driving to a venue and you want to have that kind of beverage and you don't want the alcohol, you'll engage with that. But it's much broader than that. And the younger consumers, Gen Z and young millennials, are so much more engaged with it, and they're so much more mindful of what they consume and being sharper and getting ahead in life and spending time in the on trade, be it in a work environment almost. They don't want the alcohol in their intake really in that occasion.
And obviously the research that you've done, not just with us but in other areas of AF and low and no, you then launched Peroni Libra.
We did, yeah.
Tell me a bit about that. What was the reasoning behind that?
Well, we didn't have a play in NAB Lab at all, and so that had been under development for a number of years, and we launched that in January 2019 in the off trade, and then in April in the on trade, and it's done really well. It was Nielsen's #1 beer NPD for 2019, regardless, alcoholic, non-alcoholic. So that was a great success. Yeah, and it's it's currently third biggest selling beer in the non-alcoholic beer in the off trade. So fourth and third in the on trade, but it's a sister brand to the Peroni Nostro Azzurro master brand. It's brewed with our proprietary Nostrano dell'Isola maize and all sorts of things, and it's got loads of work's gone into it. And I think it's the same for other brands out there, as super premium brands out there who've begun to release non-alcoholic variants. We're passionate about our master brands, and we're not going to release something that doesn't equally taste wonderful. And a lot of time and effort goes into making sure that it stacks up against its the rest of the brand family, and it really does. So we're continuously looking at those and continuously looking at innovation as well for NAB Lab within the portfolio.
Okay, and I mean, I think that the future for this category is bright. I think that the increase, as you said at the beginning, in moderation and in health considerations, and just a slight move away from that idea of the only thing that we can do is go out and get drunk. There's actually there's
absolutely
much more experience-based feeling towards the on-trade nowadays. What do you see in the future for that category? I'm presuming you agree with me that it's a long term.
I do, and I think the whole experience thing is key to is one of the things that is going to be going to help the kind of relaunch of the on-trade post kind of lockdowns and COVID restrictions. People are desperate for experience, and I think we look back now when we've kind of been cooped up for the best part of the year on the joys of being able to go and see live music, live sport, go to the theatre, all those kind of things that involve go and share a meal with a group of friends beyond your household, etc. So there'll be a lot of people, there'll be a fair few people who will be still hiding behind their couch until the world is completely sanitized, but a lot of people, and a lot of the research I've seen, particularly on the younger demographics as well, they're looking to make up for lost time and really go and visit those places, Instagram the hell out of it, and share all those experiences. And so there's going to be a lot of people wanting to go out, experience those things. And not everyone is going to want to continually consume alcohol in those occasions, or there'll be the people who are teetotalers or mindful of their health, who will want to meet up with peers in a neutral environment, or somewhere that's just a bit more exciting and a bit more fun. It's got multiple occasions. People, it's not going to be about Friday and Saturday anymore. People are going to want to go out midweek, and if you've got things to do the following mornings, like a lot of us have, then alcohol might not be on the table for you on that occasion.
And essentially, I mean, I think that's another point that you and I have discussed before, is that I see low and no as a footfall driver for those quieter times of the week where people wouldn't possibly normally think about going to a pub.
Sure.
and have a meeting in a pub at 11 in the morning, and we can have an AF beer, and that makes it a little bit more of a social occasion as well as business. I also genuinely believe that because, as you say, the demographic profile is young or younger, that is a demographic that we did struggle to get to come to pubs before COVID, but now those guys are wanting to go back in, and they're ready for it. So I think you're wholly right about the experience, about it being a footfall driver. What would be your one piece of advice for, say, pubs, bars and restaurants, but also grocery retail, who want to sort of improve their offer and win in this category?
Starting with the on-trade, I think it's key. Range and visibility is kind of the two big words for me. It's will the point of purchase previously was the bar. People could go up and even try and scan the fridges, see what was on draft. I think for a little while yet, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be what was the point of consumption is going to be where people are purchasing them at table. So it's visibility. So be it boards, be it on menu, and really making a play for that. And then range. I would really urge people to think long and hard about broadening the range of NabLab drinks they have on offer. Not have 2 NabLab beers in the back corner of the bottom of the fridge, kind of classic scenario. But and there's draft options emerging as well. That's going to be huge, I think, as people get to that stage of being able to of kind of packing NabLab in that format. And it's truly on parity with alcoholic brands, and they're kind of there in front of you. There's almost a trust thing there as well that it's going to be great if it's on draft. And so I'd say range across all categories, wine, spirits as well, and make sure that the experience of them is brilliant. Put them in a great glass, make sure it's really cold, make it look on parity with a beautiful cocktail or something like that, or a beer. And then the off-trade, that's one thing the off-trade does well, is they've got the luxury of being able to share a huge range to let consumers browse that, pick a brand that they may be familiar with from the alcoholic category. But one thing they might want to consider is pack size. It kind of tops out really at kind of 6-pack. And actually, because consumers are buying that more and more, and we've seen that trend in the off-trade in alcoholic beer going to larger pack formats because they didn't want to go to the supermarkets as often. So 18, 24 packs are becoming, taking greater share. I think it's probably time, with the growth in the category and people engaging in it, to look at 12 packs and things like that for NabLab itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the research that we conducted said, going to your on-trade point, I think it was 59% of people said that the visibility and being able to find the brands, etc., that they want in pubs and bars, wasn't easy. And of course, if you're talking about grocery retail, and especially at the moment where people are shopping more locally, pack format is incredibly important. You're walking, you don't want to, all of those things are incredibly important. Jez, thank you. It's been really great speaking to you. It's been a pleasure to understand how and why and what you're doing with Peroni Libra, and just really good to get your advice on how we can grow this category. So thank you so much for your time.